This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
We are back with Jasmin Dina. Excited to have her here to talk more about her work from Birth and Body Works, maternity care, and so much more with Oxomohco Birth and Body Works. How are you doing today, Jasmin?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me this morning. I'm super excited to be here. And I say morning actually because it's morning in my place, but
You're in Hollister in California, correct?
correct, yeah.
Perfect to point that out. Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. So, give us a little overview. Let's start with an overview of the company and what you do, and then we're going to dive further into your background, and then we'll get back to doing what you do. And excited for people to learn all about you. So, tell us an
Yeah.
overview of the company. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So Oxomohco Birth and Body Work is a maternity resource center where I personally specialize in birth preparation and birth support, but we also encompass things focusing on fertility, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum, primarily in those first 6 weeks postpartum. And not only do we provide services, but also in the case that somebody reaches out to us and they're looking for a service that we don't particularly provide, something like lactation consultation, sleep training, things that can be contributing to the entire maternity experience. If we don't provide the service, we help families connect to those services. So that is where like our resource connection comes in. Of if we can't provide the service, we help you find somebody that can.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much. And before we dive into all the details of your work and how it's helping people, I think it's important for us to get to know you and talk about your background, where you grew up, and would you mind giving us a little kind of backstory, please? Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm getting over a little bit of a cough, so hopefully it doesn't interrupt too much here. But I actually grew up in a very big family. I have four sisters, and my parents also have a lot of siblings, which means that my parents are actually the oldest of their siblings. So everybody would come to their house to hang out, and we'd have the Sunday barbecues, and all of the family was there, and I was always around babies. So ever since I was really little, I've loved holding babies, anything and everything related to babies. And as I was growing up, I always thought that I wanted to have 12 children like my grandma.
Ah, oh my goodness. God bless her.
But then I realized, as I got a little bit older, I'm like, okay, that's not realistic.
Yeah, that's
I don't think
insane.
I can have 12 children. But
That's a lot.
some way, somehow, I can still
Yeah.
be around a lot of
Hmm.
children, right? And then I learned that in ancestrally, my lineage comes from midwives. And so my grandmother was a community midwife in her hometown, and so was her grandmother. So when I learned this, I was so interested. And I remember being about 8 years old learning this and being so interested. And so from there, throughout my life, I was like finding ways to incorporate that into my life. And my parents have always had their own business. So I actually studied business administration and accounting, and then later learned that I could become a doula and a midwife. Although I'm not a midwife quite yet, and I've really enjoyed my time being a doula. Um, I went from business administration to accounting, and then I actually studied massage. And massage is what really like dove me deep into this work, where when I was learning about pregnancy massage, that's where I really learned like doula work is real. It's accessible. I can start doing it right away. And then eventually I could continue on to become a midwife. But I loved massage so much that I actually did massage for 10 years. This is the first year that I have not done massage, and I specialized in pregnancy and postpartum massage. And then at the same time, I was learning and educating myself and preparing myself to support families for the birth itself. So I was able to come in from a perspective of knowing how to work on the body, what's happening on the body, what's happening in the body, throughout the laboring experience and throughout that recovery time within those first 6 weeks. So I started that journey in 2016.
Wow, impressive, amazing. And there's still so much to you that we're going to get to know, obviously, about the work you're doing, the people you're helping, and amazing to hear this. By the way, you said you did business administration. Was it a Heald College? Is that where you went?
Yeah,
And then the massage therapy was at Carrington.
correct.
Beautiful. It's always good to check out credentials, which is amazing. And,
Yeah.
you mentioned Mexican traditional medicine and how important, this is for me. You said your family, I can't believe all these amazing birth stories that they
Yeah.
have. And what a background, and for you to be here as a certified massage therapist, don't forget, also, you really are dedicated as a full spectrum doula. So I think it's important for people to get to know you about what you're doing to help people with pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and so on and so forth. So where do we begin? What aspect of Oxomohco do you want to start with of how you're helping people?
Yeah. I think I'd love to share with you about this most exciting thing that I actually just released literally
Okay.
6 days ago. With all of the work that I've been doing, I've actually been working on a pregnancy journal.
Oh,
And this pregnancy journal has been a way for me to encompass all of the aspects of the work that I do and put it into a nice little pamphlet for people, a nice little journal for people to have as a continuity of care. And it has a lot of teachings and guidance and spaces for people to write and reflect from the guidance of a doula. Because what I've noticed a lot of times when I'm working with families is that they don't know where to start. They don't know who to turn to. And I think this is also like big picture, the difficulty around maternity care, the difficulty with families deciding to have children. And then when it is that it's their time, they're like, where do I even start? Who do I even go to? And then with, traditional Western medicine, you can't even get an appointment until you're a certain amount of time of pregnant, right?
yeah.
So this journal really helps connect all of those things and helps people find the direction that they need to go to, the direction that feels right for them. And sorry about that. The direction that's going to help them prepare for the birth experience that they're wanting to have. So this pregnancy journal is currently on pre-sale and it will be available to the public on March 20th. And in Mexican cultural tradition, in March is our new year. We go by what's commonly known as the Aztec calendar. So
Okay.
in a way to celebrate the new year, I've created this journal to be released around that time.
Oh my goodness. And how long did you work on this journal for?
I've worked on it, I want to say, for about 3 years now.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's amazing. You gotta have such proud people around you, right? So here we go. It's not just a pregnancy journal, as you say. It is a sacred companion, you say, for your journeyhood into motherhood, which is beautiful, beautiful. So I know, let's talk, if you can, about some of the experiences, some of the people, as a birth educator that you're helping. And again, this is in bilingual too, right? So Spanish, English, you could do it all.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Spanish is my first language, and I actually started off as a volunteer at a county hospital. And during my time there, I worked with a lot of monolingual families, a lot of families that were trying to navigate a system that quite literally wasn't able to communicate with them or like help them understand what was happening. And I realized that there was a lot of lack of education and preparation, just in general, right? From when we have our sex educational class in high school, middle school, whenever it is that you got that class, we're not learning about the anatomy in our body or what's happening in our body, especially when it comes time to have a baby, right? So when it's time for us to have this baby, we're like, what's happening? Why does this hurt? What's going on? What are my options? And I was really able to experience that from the medical side of things when I was technically a part of the medical team as a volunteer. And then I was also able to see it on the side of the families, where I was also in the room supporting the families, and they weren't understanding what was happening. They weren't sure how to communicate with the medical team. And being able to see how they came together in that birth room and how it influenced the way that they were supported, um, that was, I think, the best route that I could have taken into this work, to start off as a volunteer and to be able to observe these different aspects, because it truly molded the way that I show up for families today.
Oh, wonderful. And I want to hear, if you don't mind, some examples of some of the families, some of the testimonials of the people that you've helped. I know you have many stories. Is there any in particular that you want to share with us?
There's so many. There's so many. I'm and there's like different lessons that I got from every single one of them. One of the first births that I attended. So there's sometimes we say labor and delivery without understanding that those are two different words. Those are two different activities that are
Uh-huh.
happening, right? So when I'm supporting somebody throughout labor, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm there for the birth itself, right? So that can happen for hours, potentially days.
Yeah.
But the first birth that I attended, the first delivery that I was there for, this was a young mama, and her partner was like, I'm going to step out for a little bit. You stay here and support her. I did that, and he was kind of like going back and forth. They were kind of texting. There was some family dynamic there.
Yeah.
And he ended up not making it for the birth. And
Oh,
I was there with her. She decided to get an epidural. And we were there, going through the motions. And
ah,
when that it was time for her to push, I was like, oh my gosh, is her partner gonna make it? Like, what am I gonna do if he doesn't
ah,
make it? How am I supposed to support? And I was, freaking out a little bit because it was the first birth that I was attending.
yeah.
And he ended up making it after the baby was born. And during that time, I really had to focus on why I was there and what I could do to support her. And at the same time, there's so many things happening in the room. There's other medical staff, there's machines going off, there's a lot of chaos in the hospital. But my goal and my intention of being there was to help keep her grounded and calm, because this is a moment that she was going to celebrate for the rest of her life, right? And so being able to stay focused in that and stay focused in helping her breathe and helping her listen to the guidance of like, this is how, you're going to push. Um, it really, it was very, life changing for sure. But also just such a big moment in my career of like, this is what it's going to be like. And I was torn between like, am I allowed to cry? Because this is such a special moment. I just seen a baby be born, but also I have to be grounded and focused and like not distracted. Like, is this something that I'm allowed to do? Right. And trying to
Yeah.
have that balance between taking care of myself and being in that moment, but also being present for the family I was with.
Oh, you broke up a sec. I heard you, the family that you were with, and then
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you. Go ahead, sweetie. Go ahead. What a story.
Yeah, it was amazing. I absolutely loved being able to support that family. And since she had the epidural, we were able to chit chat a lot. And she was just, talking to me about her goals and her dreams and how this was her second baby and all of these things. So, it was just a really beautiful experience to be able to be there with her and also to be with somebody during a moment where they are the most vulnerable, and then, when they expect their support team to be there, and then something happens that they're no longer there, they're no longer supporting, um, being able to have somebody step in and continue that support, I think makes a really big difference in their experience for sure.
Beautiful. Oh, wow. All right. We still got plenty of time to talk more about you, your services, and all the work that you provide. And this is pretty fascinating. I'm on the website, so I get to peruse and see more of the journal, hear more about it. And there's also, you have some events as well that you do or that are coming up. Did you want to share anything about that?
Yeah, the only event that I have right now coming up is the release of the journal.
Yay! That's a
But
big
I
event.
Yes, it is. I also do monthly womb pláticas.
Mm.
And these womb pláticas are in Spanglish, as you mentioned earlier. And the goal with these calls is that they are completely free. And what we go over is understanding the importance of taking care of our uterus for our reproductive health. And this is based on Mexican traditional medicine, and why it's important to take care of our uterus and how to take care of our uterus. Because a lot of times we hear, like, we're supposed to have a certain diet and we're supposed to do certain exercise and we're supposed to do all of these things to take care of ourselves. But it's the execution where we struggle
Yeah.
with in all aspects, right? So, in this womb plática, we go over anatomy and understanding the anatomy of our bodies. We also go over the foundation of Mexican traditional medicine, and how we can implement it into our daily lives, understanding the different phases of our cycle, and what are some tools that are easily accessible for us to care for our uterus, to have that benefit of whatever our reproductive health goals are, whether we are procreating children, projects, ideas, whatever it may be. And that's coming from the understanding that our uterus is our headquarters of creativity, of creation, right? So although we do focus on reproductive health and, fertility, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum, not everybody chooses to have children, right? Or may not be able to have children. So we just because the uterus is not carrying a child does not mean it doesn't deserve care and attention. So these womb platicas are done every month, and they are open to anybody and everybody that has a uterus and wants to learn a little bit more about their bodies.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. Wow, there's so much good to come from this. And for people out there, it's a scary thing to have a baby. I've had two, right? It's just, there's a lot that goes into it, especially for first timers, and you don't know. And so
Yeah.
many things you don't learn and know. Can I tell you just the one thing that I learned after my first birth that no one told me? I just think this is
Yeah,
important.
absolutely.
No one ever discussed with me, any doctor, any coach, about prolapse. Here I am with my baby. I come home and I'm like, what? Something doesn't feel right down there. I'm like, what is
Yep.
going on? I'm like, something's hanging out. I'm like, what is that? Oh, that's your uterus. Oh, that's your cervix. I'm like, what? Never even
Yep.
thought about all the pressure, the brutality of how your body, like, and it could get harmed. No one ever discussed that. I was like naive to be like, what is this? What's going on? It looks like I'm having another baby. Like just things like that. Obviously people who are in the business would know to tell you about, but my doctors never
Yeah.
once told me anything about that. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think that would be a great topic for us to share in our next meeting about belly binding and how to support the belly postpartumly, specifically because of prolapse. And I think this is a little bit of a struggle that I have with Western medicine and with just traditional OB care because they don't pay attention to what's happening in the physical body. And coming from a perspective not only of a massage therapist, but also of a traditional body worker, understanding what the body has been through and that transition of the body coming home now with a baby, but now
Mm-hmm.
your body is changing and healing and adjusting. How can we physically support that to help minimize any discomfort and help optimize your healing, not only for your next menstruations, but also if you decide to have more children to minimize any fertility issues with those next cycles, but also when you go through your menopause experience, which is something that is never addressed when you decide to have children. It's not something that even crosses our mind of like menopause, that's way down the line, right? But how you care for your body, specifically those first 6 weeks postpartum, is going to influence that menopause experience. So I love that you shared that with us, and I'm sorry that you had to deal with that
Yeah,
experience. And,
thank you. It's all
it's
part of
not
it, but now I try to
talked
teach
about
other
very.
people. I feel comfortable talking. I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. And being,
Yes.
by the side of someone going through such a sacred, amazing process. I mean, what are some of the most biggest challenges that you faced, if you don't mind sharing?
I think that's exactly what the biggest challenge for me is navigating the Western medicine system and
Yeah.
finding a balance between traditional medicine because we have been taught so much that you go to the clinic, you go and you see an OB and like this is the way and this is the only way. And if your doctor says one thing, you have to listen to them. And like I shared earlier, I don't come in with an agenda of like, you have to do what I say to do, right?
Yeah.
It's more of, it comes from the perspective of, I want you to have enough information so that you
Yeah.
can make an informed decision of what feels good for you and your body. And sometimes that could look like, your OB is making a specific recommendation. They're giving you certain guidance, something like co-sleeping, which is such a a difficult conversation, right? Where like some families are like very much for it, some families are very much against it, and all of the doctors are always going to tell you absolutely not, don't even think about that, but they don't take into consideration the cultural aspect of things. So finding a balance between yes, this is what the OB is telling you, but also these are your cultural practices and traditions. What feels good for you? And what's going to work well for you and your family dynamic and your family structure, your living situation, and helping families feel confident in those decisions. That is something that I navigate throughout all of the families that I work with, um, no matter what their background is. It's
Got it.
something that I'm always kind of navigating of like helping them find a balance between this is their recommendation,
Yeah.
but what feels right for you and your family.
Got it. Well, already you're talking to someone. I'm 48 years old, probably going through menopause soon, not yet, but I know that's happening. And my kids are 9 and 11, and we still co-sleep together. Everyone makes fun of me, not everyone, but a lot of people go against it. I'm like, it's been the three of us since day one. It's just us. And this is what I choose because they're my life, they're my soul, they're my beings, and we love each other. And it's so funny. We had a flood in the house like 2 weeks ago, so we cannot sleep upstairs. So we both been sleeping on the couch, all three of us. So we have two couches. And like last
Yeah.
night, my son, I was sleeping with one son. I wake up and the other son's intertwined with us. There's three of us on one couch. Like these moments are precious. They're beautiful. And
Exactly.
I have a cousin who never had kids, and she's older, and she's just against. Oh, they need their own space. There. I'm like, first of all, you've never understood it. You don't have any friends with kids. You've never been around children. I'm like, mind your own business, because people are very
Yeah,
opinionated. I said it's worked for us. It's gonna work
very
for
much.
everyone. But there's gonna be a day soon where they don't want to sleep with me and my two boys, and I'm gonna miss it. But I'm gonna say, wow, I got 10, 11 years out of this, and it's beautiful. I could see
Yeah,
if I was in a relationship
exactly.
or something, fine, wouldn't be the case. But in my situation, it works perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the most important thing to do what works well for your family in this moment because not everybody has the luxury to be able to provide a room for each of their children, right? Not everybody has that space. Not everybody wants to be away from their babies. And it's important for you to do what works well for you and your family. And that's it.
Beautiful. All right, we still got just a few minutes left. What else do you want to make sure we cover for today?
Oh my gosh, there's so much we can talk about. I think that, oh, let's talk about it all.
Sure.
I think that continuing on this topic of like making decisions that work well for your family is deciding the team that you want to support you for your birth is also important, right? And knowing that you have the autonomy to choose. If someone is making you feel uncomfortable or like there's something there that you're like, I don't really like asking questions to my OB or they make me feel some kind of way, you don't have to deal with them. You don't have to put up with that discomfort, especially during such a special moment in your life. This is something that you're going to celebrate for the rest of your life. And having to navigate what's a personality that may not mesh well with yours, or somebody that's, always just kind of pushing off your concerns or your questions. It can be very taxing in the body. And just knowing that you have options, you don't have to continue with that OB, you can look for another OB at any time. But there's also out of hospital support that can work with that type of care that you're having. So if there's, some difficulty with whatever logistics where you can't change an OB, maybe you could have a doula that contributes and helps kind of balance out like the difficulty with your OB. There's also midwives that you can work with. There's practitioners outside of that clinical care that can help contribute to that support team.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much. Pleasure getting to know you today. And let's tell everyone how we can contact you. And of course, all about the book. We can't wait to see. Thank you.
Yes. So I am primarily on Instagram, and I go by Oxomohco, and I answer all of my DMs, and I'm very active on Instagram, so people can reach out there. When you go onto the Instagram, I have, of course, the link in the bio where you can access the journal if you wanted to check that out and pre-order that. But yeah, Instagram is where you can find me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here and looking forward to the next time we get to connect. Thank you so much. And really, best of luck. Excited for you. And hopefully we connect again, okay?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Ditto. Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.